I was so over, I guess I could say I was just so over life. I was so over feeling so unwell. And part of me felt like something was missing. So I knew it was the EBV. I knew that the seasonal affective disorder were heavy metals that oxidize in the brain. So they're creating a runoff. And that runoff obviously messes with your neurotransmitters, which is why I was feeling that depression, even though I didn't have a reason for it. There are studies now that point to heavy metals being the cause for like autism. So there's like a paper out there. How would they know these things if it wasn't for the information that was shared from Medical Medium, which was published first?
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's YouRevolution episode, which is the fourth and final instalment of our Medical Medium healing series, which is all about healing chronic illnesses in the body naturally. And this week's episode is a powerful one because we're interviewing someone who was on both sides of the fence. She was in mainstream medicine as a trainee doctor, and then she went down the holistic health route. Her name's Elizabeth Chavarria, and she's based in Wyoming in the US. She's got an amazing story to share because she was a trainee doctor, but she'd so many of her own personal health issues that mainstream medicine just could not fix, and she was actually told that she would just have to suffer all of these symptoms for the rest of her life as a young woman. So she then decided this didn't make sense and went down the holistic route, looking at the medical medium healing protocol. If you're someone who's struggling with any type of chronic health condition right now, then this is an episode you really want to check out. Liz has got so much great information to share, and she's now a respected holistic health coach helping lots of other clients to get well, and she's even got clients here in the UK as well. So we hope you enjoy the episode, and if you're enjoying our content, please hit the subscribe button to support the channel. Thanks guys. Okay Liz, great to speak with you. Thanks for coming on this chat with us. We've interviewed a few people to do with the medical medium who've had great healing experiences following his protocols. Really interested to speak to you because I know you were training to be a doctor and you were also experiencing a lot of your own chronic health conditions. Please tell us your story about where it all began with your health problems. Okay. and how you got well again.
That's a very, very long story, but yes, I'm more than happy to share because a lot of what I share really resonates with others. So my health issues began actually when my really debilitating health issues began when I was 13 years old. And at 13, once I entered puberty, I started developing heavy menstruation, really, really painful periods. I ended up going to see a gynecologist, and at that time, I just remember him giving me oral contraceptives, which made things absolutely worse. So it just worsened everything. By that time, I had already lost so much blood. I kind of needed a blood transfusion, but I didn't want anything to do with any of that. And I actually didn't end up going back to the gynecologist. I just knew that wasn't the answer. And at age 13, I knew that one day I would find answers, at least for what I was going through at that time.
Liz says that the oral contraceptives messed her body up so much that she went on to develop an eating disorder. And as she got older, her health problems piled up. Chronic fatigue, brain fog, constant UTIs, memory loss, the list went on. And she had gained a scholarship to become a doctor, but ironically she was the sickest person she knew. And Lizzie's medical studies did not provide any answers. It wasn't until she came across the medical medium that she was able to get well again.
at one point I did become bedridden. That's when everything I was learning in school didn't make sense. And none of what I was even experiencing, we didn't even learn about in school. So I was just thinking to myself, and as I was going to MD, I I about just lost it, because there was one point where I was going to see an MD around 5 to 7 times a week because of how bad I felt. And I had the insomnia as well. That's when I developed the chronic fatigue. The chronic fatigue is, for me at least, it was, you feel that heaviness, you can't really do much. Anyways, I was in school, right? So I was able to come out of that a little bit, but I still wasn't the same. And I couldn't find anything with what I was learning. Then eventually I learned about naturopathic medicine. And I had no idea about naturopathic medicine until then. So that was years after I was even in school. And I did get to learn from a naturopathic doctor, but even he didn't have any answers for me. One of my mentors in school, and she was actually one of my professors as well, was a naturopathic doctor as well, but she wasn't able to help me either. She didn't know what was wrong with me. And at one of those points, I was in research as well. Part of the reason why I chose to go into Alzheimer's research was because I was having memory issues of myself. So I was like a young student, and I was already breaking down. I felt like I was in the body of a 90-year-old. It was ridiculous. And little did I know, during my time in research, what I learned was, what my mentor shared with me was, you need to follow money. So that's what I was told by my mentor. Like, if I wanted to succeed in research, I had to follow money. And to me, that just didn't resonate, because I wanted to do things that inspired me. I didn't just want to be told what to do. But that's how it works in research. And you as a scientist, you aren't able to do anything unless you have the funds.
Here, and like, how long were you studying to become a doctor and going through all the books and the science? I imagine you read tons of stuff, and then you read this one book, and then that makes so much more sense. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so being in research, doing a lot of things, right, and I count that as a very, very minor part of my life, because it's like, I've learned so much more now, and everything has made sense. What Anthony actually talks about is that, and this is not to disprove, there's so much good medicine out there. There are so many life-saving MDs that we need. Like, we absolutely need them. And with medical medium, he sheds light into what we're missing and the missing pieces of the puzzle as well. And I think that when you're in school, I think you have to set your ego aside as well, and then be open to, okay, there's more. We don't know everything, and we're not sure of everything we're learning. So there's a lot that shares light into, that are those missing pieces, right? For example, when it comes to autoimmune, we think there are that our body develops antibodies for our own immune system that's attacking our body. And we don't have the tools to actually see if there's a virus in there. We don't, our, our tools are so outdated. Our blood tests are so outdated, 70 plus years old. It's not something we should just solely rely on. And, you know, in school, we're just kind of taught things are the way they are, and that's how you're supposed to see them. And to me, it was very, very eye-opening to know that there was something, and this had been a part of me since I was 13, that there was so much more than what meets our eye. So it was just very liberating to actually know about what medical medium shares in those truths. I personally, it's so hard, especially, and having been in that background and seen what goes on in research in that area, how things work, it's really allowed me to really set that ego aside and be like, wow, like this guy has so much more to share, right? And that's, for me, that was the turning point to everything. It helped me mend in other ways as well. And I don't know if a lot of people will resonate with this, but along my journey, I was just really devastated. I felt so down. There was a point where I told my mom that I wanted to spend time with monks. I was so over, I guess I could say I was just so over life. I was so over feeling so unwell. And part of me felt like something was missing. And I wanted to go spend time with monks. I didn't know why. It was just something that I wanted to do. And I like to share this with people because it goes beyond mending on a physical level. I no longer feel that way, and I didn't have to go spend time with monks. So working on reclaiming my own soul, my own power, right? He talks, I don't know if you've listened to the meditations or anything, but yeah, they are powerful. Even after you've gotten rid, right, viruses, bugs are what are the cause for our chronic symptoms. Even after I got rid of that, your nerves take a while to heal. So for someone with anxiety, neurological symptoms, depression, perhaps, the nerves take a bit while to heal, or the chronic fatigue. So we're not just dealing with the bugs either. We're also dealing with the heavy metals. And something that I want to share with that was that there are studies now that point to heavy metals being the cause for like autism. So there's like a paper out there. How would they know these things if it wasn't for the information that was shared from medical medium, which was published first? So all these studies now are coming out. Oh, this is the cause of this. For example, that the mercury being cause of autism. And it's just so weird because now they're using his information to make these publications, which they wouldn't even have known to have looked for heavy metals or like in the brain or anything. So it's very ironic to actually see that. Out of all the MDs that I saw, one of them actually told me that it could be EBV because I had the antibodies for it. Okay. I didn't believe her though, because in school I had learned that we develop the antibodies and then it's just gone. So I didn't believe her, but she also didn't know how to help me. She just said I was going to live with those symptoms for the rest of my life. And yeah, she told me that. She said, it's something you're just going to have to live with. And it was very, very astonishing for me at such a young age to be told that as well. And so I knew it was the EBV. I knew that the seasonal affective disorder were heavy metals that oxidize in the brain. So they're creating a runoff. And that runoff obviously messes with your neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are those chemical messengers that go from like a synapse to synapse. So from one axon to the other axon, and they pass on different messages. So, right, it was interfering with all of that, which is why I was feeling that depression, even though I didn't have a reason for it. So that made complete sense. My chronic fatigue and my chronic tonsillitis as well. The EBV, another symptom of EBV and strep. With the chronic fatigue, of course, it's EBV, so Epstein-Barr virus. And when you have any neurological symptom, it is due to neurotoxins, and only viruses can produce neurotoxins that affect the nerve. So neurotoxins, again, neurological, so they affect the nerves. So only those symptoms are caused by viruses. So that's very important to know and make that distinguish to know if your symptom is viral or bacterial. Because if you do have, right, if you have the anxiety, if you have, even if you have, or a neurodegenerative disease, you're most likely dealing with both. I mean, at this point, everyone is dealing with both. We're all exposed to heavy metals in some form of way, right? He talks about how they're falling out from the sky. They spray them in parks. And, you know, with the herbicides, pesticides, they're found in our food. So every single food, even if it's organic, has something toxic to it.
It's been a huge change in state of health for you, and some people watching this will be really interested for you to explain exactly what you did to get well. So could you explain what parts of the protocol you incorporated and the results you began to see?
Yeah. I did immediately first start with celery juice and the heavy metal detox smoothie. And again, that goes back to my auntie helped me with all of that. She had already started the celery juice and the heavy metal detox smoothie. So I went ahead and did that. I didn't see a big difference at first. It wasn't until maybe I would say even a little over a year that I really noticed the benefits from the celery juice. Now when I drink it, I'm like, it's like a spurt of energy, you know, but it wasn't like that at first in the beginning. And with the heavy metal detox smoothie, and I just want to make one thing clear, it wasn't the heavy metal detox smoothie that made my brain fog worse. But when I did start, my symptoms did worsen. But I knew I had to stick through it because I believed in it. And I and this like after just trying everything with diets and everything, I had this sense of inner knowing that this was what was going to have to help me. And yeah, my brain fog did get really, really bad. It got worse. It got so much worse. But I stuck with it. I did everything. I didn't go actually with the whole, when Anthony talks about how you don't have to give up animal protein. So that's not something you have to do. I personally did. I would say some months into it, I did give up the animal protein. And I just, I want to share that just so people know, but people should also know that you don't have to. It's not required to actually heal. So and I began doing the 28-day cleanse. So from the original first book, so that's what I did. I learned a lot on my own journey though. with the 28-day cleanse, my nervous system was pretty beat down, and ended up going fat-free. But there wasn't just one protocol that I followed. It was a dynamic process, and I had to change things. I did have a bit more radical fats, and what Anthony refers to radical fats is, right, when a food's main calorie source comes from fats. So that's a radical fat. So I did have a bit more radical fats at one point. I dealt with very little produce, whatever produce I could get during the winter months. It was difficult, especially living in a rural area. But I kept the celery juice constant. But I kept within the boundaries. I kept the dairy, the soy, the gluten, the natural flavors away, just because I knew a lot of my symptoms were neurological, and I knew these things could exacerbate those symptoms. So I did keep those foods away and just made sure to stay in those guidelines.
I suppose it's really good to know, though, that at one point you had someone who was a mentor in mainstream medicine saying to you that you'd have to live with these symptoms your whole life. And then you pick up this book, a guy you don't know, you follow his protocol, and now 3.5 years down the line, the symptoms are gone.
Yeah, and I want to share that a big part of what, and people think your life is like perfect after you've healed, though, right? But we still have stresses in our lives and everything. So of course my life isn't perfect, but those debilitating symptoms, they're gone. And I'm free to live my life now and focus my energy on the things I want to focus. So that's extremely empowering on its own, because I didn't think I would have this energy that I'm building up now. It's something that I want to share is in life-changing foods. In that book, Anthony explains how an asparagus shoot, right, it's full of like this energy. It's like alive right before it grows into a tree, and people know how to pick it when it's at this time. So when you consume asparagus, that passes on to you. But when I was reading that, I was thinking, I can't even remember a time where I felt like that, where I felt my full energy, right, my life force flowing through me. I couldn't remember that. So, and like now I've begun to know what that means, because I had since I was 13, I was already struggling. But now I know what that's like. So that's life changing in itself. Yeah, I fundamentally believe your health is the foundation to every other area of your life. And we're meant, when it comes down, we come into this earth, right? And whatever you believe in, working on your health, especially if you've been through sickness, or even if you just have one symptom, right? Even if you just have chronic acne, right? That cystic acne or something, that's a chronic symptom, and you don't have to deal with that. It's part of coming into this world is also about learning how to heal ourselves and mend ourselves, and that opens the door. Like once we've done that opens the door for us to work on different areas of our life, because now we're not being held back by a certain symptom or a series of symptoms, right, that you've developed. So now you have the opportunity to fulfill your purpose, whatever that means to you. Now you can live with fulfillment, because you're working on these other areas. You have that energy. That was something I lost since I was a teenager, and feeling that energy again I'm able to focus on other areas, things that I want to do. And actually, I'll share with you one thing I'm doing right now is a co-founder of mine and I, we're starting a nonprofit for people with in the medical medium community. For those who don't, it's going to play a very small role in people's journey, but it will help people who don't have the funds for certain supplements along their journey. So that's something that I've always wanted to do, and now I have the energy to do that. And then energy to do all these other things that I've wanted to do for so long.